right, it is 5:31 p.m.
No, that's not anybody.
This is the meeting of the Community Investment Program Task Force Special Meeting Agenda. It's Monday, March 17, 2023. As authorized by Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code, this meeting may be convened in closed executive session for the purpose of seeking confidential legal advice from the city attorney on any agenda item herein. The City of Rowlett reserves the right to reconvene, recess, or realign the regular session or call executive session or order of business at any time prior to adjournment. The process for public input. If you are not able to attend in person, you may complete the citizen input form on the city's website by 3:30 p.m. the day of the meeting. All forms will be forwarded to the task force prior to the start of the meeting. For in-person comments, registration forms and instructions are available inside City Hall. The committee may receive comments only on the agenda items listed below. Any comments?
We did not have any.
All right, so let's go right into the agenda. Agenda item 1, consider approval of the minutes from the December 5th, 2022 meeting. And if you haven't had a chance to review them already, go ahead and take a couple minutes. And when we're ready, we just need a motion.
So moved.
We have a motion, second?
Second.
We have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? One abstention. Okay.
All right, you ready here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we're gonna do a couple of things in this meeting. Officially, this is mine and Laura's last meeting with you. And we are going to hand you off to our engineering team. Following this, thank you all for signing up to do this again. I appreciate you, most of you. Some of you have been through this process before. Laura and I are obviously here to help the engineering team through any questions they have, but the next version is going to be very different than the first version you did, right? So Jeff and Eric are shaking their head because they've been down this road at least twice, maybe 3 times, both of them. So the first time you guys went out and got public input about facilities and about this bond election that we're going to have tonight, right? So we did an entire orientation about the charge from council. I'm going to kind of go through with you what we settled on because I think that's important for you to know. And then we went to council and said, okay, what's next for the CIPTF? Absolutely, they can go out and help share this information, but you can do that anyway, right? But it is now time to start planning for the 2024 May bond election. Those of you that have been down this road, Mike, Jeff, Eric, that is a very, very different process than what you just did. It is hearing presentations from folks. We'll go through that orientation tonight and the timeline for it. Scoring projects, forming subcommittees, doing those kinds of things. So I'll let you know, Laura and I'll let these guys introduce themselves. We are after tonight. You got a couple things you got to do tonight, but after tonight we will hand you over to this team. Fina is actually your liaison going forward, so I'll let her start.
Hi.
So Fina Jacobs, she is the CIP manager. Jacob, she is the CIP manager. Sorry, I threw this on her. Tim, introduce yourself.
Yes, Tim Engel, the graduate engineer in public works. I was actually involved in the 2021 bond election, so this will be my second time doing this.
Hi everybody, I'm Mel Moldock, Managing Director for Community Development and Engineering. We do have the interim director, Jeff Cohen, missing. He's not well, otherwise he would have had a seat at the table too today.
So, yes. All right, so we're gonna get started. The first thing we're gonna do is go through this. Some of you have seen this or will see it again this week. Miranda saw it last Monday. John will see it tomorrow. So I'll run through it. This kind of tells you a little bit about what we did with the information that you guys spent 10 months gathering and sorting and presenting to council. So the 2023 bond election, it's 3 phases. It's the facilities bond election, it's the charter amendment election, and it is the general election. election to elect 3 council seats. When and where, this is the election schedule and the voting locations. Early voting starts April 24th. If you're a Dallas County resident, it's here. If you're a Rockwall County resident, it's at the library. And then those are your election day voting locations. Those are available at rowlett.com. Hopefully by November, we will have a local place for our Rockwall County residents to vote in Rockwall County on the Rowlett side. So the May 2023 facilities is 3 propositions: public safety facility, an animal shelter or animal services facility, and then Herford Park. So the process, as you guys know, I don't even have to read you this slide. This is kind of the process that I tell everybody. We appointed the CIPTF. You guys went out, attended all of these meetings, got a lot of public input where you asked the public to prioritize them and get a taste for a bond election. And the top 2 facilities in that prioritization was the public safety facility and animal services. And that's how we got here. So this is the location. It's at the corner of President George Bush Highway, PGBT, I-90. It gets called a lot of different things. And Miller Heights. We are still working out the specific layout. Our architects are kind of going to give us what that site will look like. But that's the general location of where the facility will go. We actually own that property. We own an L-shaped piece of that property from PGBT all the way down to the lake and then across to where Pecan Grove Park is. So the first facility that's on the election is the public safety facility. That's Proposition A. It will combine the police facility, fire admin, and courts. The police facility is currently located at 4401 Rowlett Road. It has the administration, detention, Sally Port, evidence, your records, and your municipal court are all there in that space. Currently, police has about 2,400 square foot. In 2029, our architects predicted we would need 72,000 square foot. At a hefty price of about $80 million, we did some cuts and came down to about 55,000 square foot, which is how we got to roughly the $63 million. When we originally occupied that building in 1994, we had 39 sworn officers. Today, we have 105 sworn officers and 37 civilian employees. Fire admin, currently at the corner of Rowlett Road and Main Street, they have about 3,500 square foot. This would take their space up to about 8,100 square foot. It's offices for our fire chief, our assistant chiefs, our inspectors, our fire marshals, and then they also have storage there on site. And then courts is located in the police public safety building now. They have offices, they have the courtroom, they have storage, currently about 3,700 square foot, and we are proposing about 9,000 square foot. Combining these will do a couple things. It gives us some shared spaces for better efficiency, and it also gives us additional personnel to accommodate our population growth. These are the 3. They all have issues. You guys know that. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going over it. I stole these words from you as you put these presentations together. Obviously, not enough parking, not enough lockers, less than optimal layouts, right? These buildings were set up for a certain number of people, and that has, in most cases, tripled. And so that has presented us a real issue. And as you all know, our facilities have outgrown their useful life, right? It is costing us a ton now just to keep them operational. These are some facilities. The top picture is the top left-hand side are records offices. You can see how they took one big space and shoved a bunch of cubicles in there to try to make it work. That's our police evidence building and where all of our uniforms and such are stored, our fire admin building, our 911 communications division. I know you guys went on a tour of these spaces, most of you, so you saw them and you know what they look like. And then police offices, where we took a big space and put 3 people in that space. Animal services is the next facility. It will be at that same location. Currently, our animal services facility is 3,900 square foot. Our 2029 predicted needs were 10,000. We settled somewhere around 9,300. Plus, we will have outdoor kennels and an exercise yard. Yes,
You
Jeff?
said the same location,
Yes.
where it currently is?
No.
What-
Same
what-
location as this. The
Okay.
public safety and the animal
All right.
shelter will be at the same
Public
place.
safety.
Yeah, sorry. I should make it clear. I just changed the slideshow, so now it's all out of order from what I've been just reciting. Currently, we have 24 dog kennels, we have 13 outdoor kennels, and we have 4 quarantine kennels, plus we have a couple over in where cats are. Some of the challenges is that they really have complex mechanical systems. Small spaces, we gotta make sure that there's drainage and weather protection for our outdoor kennels, the security of the indoor and outdoor areas, and then complying with state laws and requirements. The proposed facility is about 9,300 square foot, and you could see how that could be broken down. Keep in mind, we have not been through the design process, right? So if these are approved in the May bond election, then we will go out, find the architects that will design the 2 buildings, and get those site plans done. So for now, what we have is kind of what could fit in that many square foot, if that gives you an idea of kind of where we are. Rowlett Animal Services, what do? They handle intake and adoption, lost and found pets, provide spay, neuter, and vaccinations, low cost. They respond to nuisance complaints. They enforce our animal ordinance. They administer pet registration. They hold special events. They work with our volunteer and rescue organizations. Our animal shelter has been in code red since March of 2022. For us, 18 animals, 18 dogs is code red. That is a serious condition of us just not having enough space. The only way that we maintain our overall release rate of 95% is that we have volunteers that foster these animals. Average about 40 animals at any given time. We hit our peak of 67 animals being fostered in fiscal year 2022. But we're not a designated no-kill shelter, but we have one of the highest live release rates in the entire Metroplex. Current conditions you can see there are outdoor kennels. We're about to do a little bit of work on those, at least to get concrete and turf down. But you can see the covers there, they're poking through. That's our animal, that's our cat quarantine area. Those cats are in little individual cages, but you can see how packed it is and there's stuff stacked in the corner. We just don't have enough space. We don't have enough outdoor kennels. Our fences and our gates are old and they don't close properly. We have drainage issues. Our shade and weather protection are inadequate. Our indoor kennels are full. And we don't have enough room in our current animal shelter for intake, bathing, storage, and medical care of these animals. Hereford Park, this proposition, yes.
What's the bond amount on the?
I'm getting there. I have all of them. On the animal shelter, it's $8.4 million. Hereford Park. So Hereford Park was built in the 1970s. It was expanded in the 80s. And I don't think it's been touched since, other than the dog park, to be real honest with you. In 2011, we had availability at Community Park to move all of our baseball fields out to our newest fields at Community Park, and we made that move. So at that time, those fields kind of went offline because they were very expensive to maintain, only to be used sporadically. So we are in the process now of doing phase 1. Phase 1 was funded in 2018. You can go out there, they have a big part of the park closed, they're doing a lot of land sculpting, taking down ball fields. This proposition would fund phases 2 and phase 3 of Hereford Park. Phase 2 includes more land sculpting, obviously, an adventure playground, pickleball courts, tennis courts, an open lawn, a splash pad, a basketball half court, and an updated dog park. So most of you know, back in 2015 or 2016, we took some donated funds and a lot of volunteer hours and created the dog park we have now because we had 2 baseball fields that weren't used. We will do some work to that, shrink it down just a little bit. It's rather large for a dog park, so we'll shrink it down a little bit and put in some proper drainage and stuff. Phase 3 is the area closest to Main Street. You're like, more land sculpting, there'll be a game lawn, there's an agility course, think about American Ninja Warrior, that kind of concept of all-age agility course, restroom facilities, and then the main plaza, which you see right in the very front. It's really that entryway into the park.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Was there no input or no request to the architect about the skate park? Because that's the only thing I ever hear about the skate park.
Yeah, we got, this all was public input, 100%. We had meetings on meetings on meetings, and that was not one of the top things that made the list of things to put.
Hmm.
There are a lot of issues that come along with skate parks as well, so
Right.
No,
But
the inline's being moved to Twin Star, right?
the hockey rink is being moved to Katy Railroad Park.
Or Katy?
Yeah. Nothing, our
And
goal.
that was my question, was you don't
Yeah,
see.
so our goal is nothing comes down until we can replace it, which is why you see this really weird section right in the middle being worked on, right? When that phase was funded, our goal was don't take out tennis and pickleball courts until we can move them somewhere else. Don't take out hockey until we can, which is why we started slap dab in the middle of that park, which is odd, but that's why we did it. So when we get funding for the rest of the park, we will work around making sure those amenities stay in place until we can move them to another location. Currently, we have plans to partner with the Hockey Association to move the hockey rink to Katy Park, the front of Katy Park. Current conditions, you can see the aerials here. Construction has started on phase 1 of Hereford Park. That's this picture in the middle where you see all the dirt work. This was several weeks ago. Until phases 2 and 3 are funded, Hereford is kind of in flux. It will remain in kind of a strange situation with part of it land sculpted and sodded and the rest kind of staying like it is until we have the funding to finish it. So, May 2023 bond election propositions. This is exactly the language on the proposition. Proposition A is for the public safety facility. It's $63,928,980. Proposition B is $8.4 million, and that is designing, constructing, improving, and equipping a municipal animal shelter. And Proposition C is $4 million, and that is designing, constructing, improving, and equipping Hereford Park. What will it cost? So Proposition A, this kind of breaks it out. You guys spent a lot of time talking and thinking about this, most of you. This just breaks it out as clearly as possible, gives you the project cost, gives you the tax increase, and then gives what you will pay per year. If all 3 projects are approved, it's $76.3 million. It's a total tax increase of about 9.9 cents, which breaks out to a $250,000 home, $248 a year, or 68 cents a day, or $497 a year on a $500,000 home. If you currently have the senior tax freeze, there's a very high likelihood that this will not impact your taxes. And if you're not sure, email me and I will explain it all. But it has to do with where you were frozen and where it currently is, and there's a lot of moving factors in there. So it's kind of dependent on each person. But in most cases, this election will not affect your taxes if you have the senior tax freeze. The other thing we have is a charter election. So the charter can be done, I think it has to be done every 5 years, but it can't be done more than every 2 years. The council again appointed a charter review commission. They met for several months. In January, they presented their ideas to council, and then council called the election. So there are 6 propositions. The first one has to do with city council vacancies and attendance. It was if you missed 3 consecutive regular meetings, you could be excused by council with a majority vote. And if you missed 6 regular meetings of council, then you forfeited your office. The way this changed is it went from regular to special or regular. So if there are 3 special or regular meetings, council with a majority vote can eject's not a good word. Unappoint, I guess, that person for 6, and you automatically give your office up. Special meetings, our charter said that in order, the people that can call a special meeting basically are the mayor or a majority of council. A majority of council means they had a meeting. So we had to change that to 3 so there wasn't a quorum that called the meeting. So now it is the mayor, 3 council members, or the city manager.
Are there definitions of what is excused?
Ray's laughing because we had this conversation at our DESC as well. It's the mayor's discretion. And, for the most part, they report to the mayor and the city secretary that they're not going to be here. And, if you're sick or if you're on vacation, those are all typically excused absences. But it really is about discretion. And the municipal court, this just changed the words about hiring the clerk, that the city manager would hire the clerk with input from the chief judge. Municipal judge, this just allowed.
Could you back up just one slide here while I finish reading that last proposition. Thank you. Thank you.
Municipal judge, this just deals with the removal of the municipal judge, and it's changed to say, in accordance with state law, the chief judge or any associate judge of the municipal court may be removed from office during their term of office with or without cause after a hearing by 2/3 majority vote of the full council. Proposition E is related to the Charter Review Commission. City council in the past determined the scope. One of the things that the Charter Review Commission asked is give us a minimum scope and then let us look at everything that we need to look at to make changes. So in this case, if council had said, we want you to look at, for grins and giggles, council vacancies and attendance in the meetings of the city council, but there were other issues like municipal court and municipal judge, that opens it up for the Charter Review Commission to have the ability to look at other items outside the scope that council outlines. And then, so that changed the minimum scope to be set by council. And then Proposition F, the charter called for the Charter Review Commission to only meet 6 months. Y'all been through this, that's impossible. You don't accomplish a whole lot in 6 months, especially with everything they go to, where they go out to other cities and they look at other charters. So they extended that to 12 months. Any questions about charter review? And finally, the general election. There are the grounds for voting in an election or running for city council. This May, places 1, 3, and 5 are up for election. As you all know, Brian Gagliardi ran for place 1 last year to finish out Blake Margolis' term when he got elected as mayor. So he is up for election again. That place number 1 is up. So place number 1 is Brian and Debbie Bobbitt. Most of you know her by Debbie. That's her official language on the ballot, so that's what we included. And they are in the order that they are on the ballot. Councilmember place 3 is Chris Kazar and Elisa Bowers, and Councilmember place 5 is Michael Shoup and Brownie Sherrill. So, April 6th is the deadline to vote, to register to vote. So if you aren't registered to vote, that's the deadline. So there are 3 elections coming up: the bond election, the charter election, and the general election. What can you do as a representative of the city or a representative of the CIPTF? You can educate our public, but you can't advocate. Here's what I told the employees. As a city or outlet employee, you can absolutely go say, go vote, and here's all the information. But you can't say, go vote yes, because I really need a new office in an animal shelter, right? Or we need new lockers. You can't advocate for this election. You can share this information with your neighbors, friends, and circles of influence. You can attend the public meeting on April the 19th at City Hall. We will do this same slideshow, plus have some videos, plus answer questions from the public. On April the 22nd, we're going to do a tour of the Rowlett Police Station and the Rowlett Animal Services Facility. Police station will be at 10 a.m. sharp. You cannot go through the police station without being escorted, so you have to be there at 10 in order to get the tour.
That's an open house for the general public, right?
Yes, yeah. And then Animal Services Facility is at 11:30 on that day. Over the next 1st and 3rd week of April, so next week, and then in a couple of weeks, you'll get a postcard that looks very similar to what's on the bottom in your mailbox. The second one looks a little bit different. It has some bright yellow on it, just to kind of catch your attention the second time. If you want some of these, they will be in later this week or early next week. Just let me know and we can pull some for you.
No
And
members
you
of
can
this committee are, other than attending, are not helping answer questions at any of these
You're
meetings
not.
or, okay.
Because you have another charge. So council has chosen to give you your next assignment and kind of let our crew run with this, and you guys run with it as just like any other board and commission would. So find us online, charter election website. I tried these, they work. If you have a smartphone, you can scan them. That's the QR code for the charter election website, or rowlett.com/charter amendment. And then the bond election election website is rowlettbond.com. Or,
You say blonde?
yeah, bond. I'm having a hard time with that. And then you can email us buildingourfuture@rowlett.com. That comes to, right now it comes to Laura and I, but we'll make sure that you get an answer if you have any questions.
So is this presentation going to be put out on the website? Or is this for internal consumption? Or presented publicly?
I would use, if I was gonna put something out, I would use that bond website. That has way more information. This presentation is just for boards and commissions. I'm happy to send you a PDF of it if you want a PDF of it, but today, the very best source you can go to is that election website, that bond election website. It has twice as much information, plus videos, plus a lot of pictures, so that's what I would use if I was you. I didn't have that the first 3 or 4 times I did this, but now that's where I would send you.
Perfect, thank you.
Oh, wow. That's okay.
Let me ask about, I understand that Garland ISD is having a question of bond too.
There.
It's- So that could impact taxes?
It
Yes,
could.
no? Okay.
Yeah.
So if that would happen to come up in any of our discussions,
Okay.
we would simply say, yes.
Visit garlandisd.com is your best thing you can tell them to do. I think
Okay.
it's gisd.com, but I would highly encourage them to go to the Garland website and see their information. Because, again, if you're a senior and you get the senior freeze, then it may not, so there's a lot of caveats there.
Well, I was just the thought came to my
Yeah.
mind as you talked about taxes. This is
Yeah.
the only influence that we're gonna have for folks of Rowlett, but
Yeah.
we live under the Garland ISD, so.
Absolutely. And I also, I mean, Blake brought this up at the RDEIC, and one thing you want to think about is, while this is what it will take, remember, for the last couple of years, your city council has opted to reduce your taxes, right? Last year, right about 6 cents or so. I think the year before, about 4 cents. So we are just entering the budget discussion time where they will make that decision about your annual taxes for that. But this is what it will take for these facilities to get built. Yes?
We've got farmers market coming up Thursday. Could we have some kind of a presentation prepared for perhaps a booth at the farmers market or something like we did with the?
We are using a lot of avenues. You guys are about to get your next charge, and that is gonna keep you tied up. And so our team is kind of taking this and running with it. We're doing the chamber, we're doing public meetings, we're doing all that kind of stuff. All the boards and commissions have seen it. Our staff just doesn't have the time to go do those, and you guys are gonna have your next challenge tonight. And that's what your focus will be after this meeting, 100%. Now, absolutely, you can go out and tell our friends and stuff about it, but I hate for you to invest the time of doing those booths, knowing that you're fixing to get a big charge to do next steps. Just support.
It is possible, should one of the proposals fail this May, that those same proposals could be on next year's bonds.
Potentially.
Because people might say, those really aren't going to raise my taxes because it's replacing existing debt.
Well,
To a certain degree.
and we're not gonna have that much capacity, and so they purposely did this, right? So next May in 2024, what you're gonna see are infrastructure projects, roads, streets, alleys, quality of life, parks, and potentially public safety, right? So they could go back out for a bond election. But the kind of decision by council is that would not take, these facilities would not take up the infrastructure part of the bond that we can do with no tax increase, right? So those infrastructures don't always have a tax increase, and we only have, I think, $45 or $50 million.
We had that slice of folks that answered the survey that said, if my taxes don't go up, I would vote for this.
Right,
Some of these.
right,
So some of them may say, well,
right.
I mean.
Mayday, I can't make any promises about what will happen if it doesn't pass this time, because I think council would be hard pressed to say we're not gonna invest in any of our infrastructure during the next bond cycle, and instead we're gonna build a police station. They absolutely could, but we have so many infrastructure needs, I think that we'll go back to the drawing board and talk about what does that look like next? Or how does it go next?
Yeah, because you also have to offset the cost of maintaining the existing failing structures while you're not building.
100%. John makes a great point. Keep in mind how much money is going into, but again, so, yeah. So potentially, yes, but we don't know what that would look like if we have to come back. Maybe we only bring one, again, with only $50 million and serious infrastructure needs, and you'll hear about those over the next couple meetings. Gotta keep that in mind. So we will take this after the fact and figure it out from there, but y'all's next charge will deal specifically with the infrastructure bond, not with facilities.
And I have an answer for Richard's question.
Okay?
GISD, it's garlandisd.net, stated that if the bond package is approved, it would adopt an estimated 6.6 tax rate increase.
So that's 6.6 cents per whatever, is that what you're telling me? Okay.
Website is awesome. I highly recommend you go check the website out. Lots of pictures, lots of videos are coming. They're putting those together a little bit at a time. There's also a tax calculator on the website, so you can literally put in your value of your house, vote on propositions, and determine what that will cost you. So you can choose that you're only going to vote for A, and what does that look like, and B, or all three, and what does that look like for you at your home. Good enough? Any questions?
Can I ask a question?
Maybe.
Well, Garland bond is
Step to the chair.
over one point. It's me.
Sure, yeah, hi.
Hi.
Go ahead, it's fine.
Okay. Garland's bond is over $1 billion, and that's going to raise the taxes 6.6 cents. And our bond is hardly anything in comparison, and it's going to raise our taxes 9 cents?
Yep.
How does that work?
I honestly don't know how Garland figured if they had expiring debt, kind of like we can do an infrastructure bond election every 3 years and not raise your taxes at all. Because we have debt that's expiring. Retiring debt allows us to bond more money. So in this case, council made a conscious decision not to use any of that expiring debt because we have so many infrastructure needs. And we're gonna have an infrastructure bond election next year. So a lot goes into determining how they're funding it. We will have to fund these facilities with tax dollars because we want to save that expiring debt capacity to do another infrastructure bond next May.
A shorter answer, and it's an extrapolation if nothing else. It's economy of scale. I mean, we have a certain number of households and businesses in the city of which to spread that tax increase over versus GISD, which is the entire population of Garland,
Well, that's
Saxe,
true.
and Rowlett. So that's where you get the difference, even though the bond is for significantly more.
Thank you.
All right. Any questions about the May 2023 election or facilities? Like I said, direct people to the website. It's the best thing you can do. Tell your friends. Remember, you can say go vote, but you can't say go vote yes, and you can educate them about these 3 propositions.
Very good.
Cool beans?
Thank you. Nice
Right.
presentation.
Next presentation.
No, I said nice
Oh,
presentation.
thank you.
Very well. And I like that little calculator you guys are putting out there.
Yeah, it's super fun. It crashed today, so we'll see.
Okay, next agenda item is the CIPTF orientation.
All right, here we go. We're gonna go again. So before Lyra and I hand you off, the last thing we're gonna do is, since we kind of worked with council to get this moving, we're gonna do your orientation. Some of you will have seen this before. It's kind of the orientation that I use for all my boards. The Capital Improvement Task Force was specifically appointed to, that needs to change. Provide facility public feedback. I thought I updated it, I guess not. So, the timeline for the project election is tight. You guys will need to be ready to present projects and public rankings in December, not July. These are the appointees. So you will see, if you are a member that's been around a while, there are 3 new members, Miranda, John Cote, and Gail Rivera. She couldn't be here tonight, but she will be here for the next meeting. Some of you have done this once or twice, so you know what this looks like and all the work that goes into this version of the CIPTF project prioritization. Board makeup is 12 members. You guys get to decide, and I need some feedback on that. Do you want to meet the, so y'all met twice a month, right? Because we had so much to do in such a short period of time. You can meet the first Monday or the third Monday, and it'll be at 5:30 there at City Hall. So when I finish, Eric, can you just do a vote for the first or the third? Just need consensus. Attendance at meetings is critical. I can't stress that enough because meeting deadlines are critical. You guys will have to make a presentation to City Council at the first meeting in December, which will be all of your projects prioritized. It will be basically all the projects and then prioritized. This is a very detailed, so this looks a little different than the last one. Missing one meeting puts you behind the team with information that's presented at each meeting. So you'll see in the schedule coming up what that looks like and why that timeline is so critical. These are the players.
Just a quick question on the timeline. Should we come into a crunch where we need additional time, there's nothing preventing us from scheduling it or asking to request additional meetings?
Having additional meetings, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. You'll see, I put the timeline at the end of the council approved. So, yeah, I mean, you might find that you get to October, November, you gotta meet twice a month. You guys have done that. Subcommittees are awesome because you can do a whole lot of work in between meetings with a subcommittee and then just come back and brief. And you guys have done that before. This is a very detailed project and it has a lot of group work. And so it's super important that you're here. These are the players, the City of Rowlett citizens, the task force members, which are you, and then City Council and your staff liaison, who is Bina. And I have your information. I have her information there. That's her phone number. That's her email. If you're going to be missing a meeting, that's who you're going to contact and let her know. And that way, I'll pause so y'all can take a picture.
I was just going to say, can you send this out in PDF just to the CIP?
Yeah, Bina can send out stuff from her information, so you guys all have it.
Thank you.
And then basically, what's next? Rules of order. All rules are covered in the Board of Commission handbook. You guys have seen this. Prompt attendance is encouraged. Again, for this board, it is mission critical because you have a lot of stuff to do between now and the first meeting in December. All CIPTF meetings are open and the public is encouraged to attend. We also record all CIPTF meetings. That way our public can always go back and watch it and have that information and stay engaged. Open Records Act provided that all information held by a governmental body, including boards and commission, must be released to the public. Y'all will follow Robert's Rules of Order, and a quorum, I believe in this case, is 5 or 6.
So there are
7?
11 members.
I thought there was 12.
12, no, one is not able to serve.
Okay, so there's 11, that's why I looked it, because I wasn't sure. So 6 is going to be a quorum. What do you have to do? You have to live in Rowlett, you have to be a registered voter at all times, keep that in mind. You have to attend a minimum of 75% of the meetings. You have to read the Boards and Commission handbook and follow Robert's Rules of Order. What are your limitations? You can't discuss items that are not on the agenda. You may not discuss agenda items with other board members outside the meeting. You may not vote on items in which you might have a conflict of interest. And remember that you may not direct staff, right? You have a liaison that's here to foster the process and make sure you guys get everything you need, but you can't direct staff. What can I do as a CIPTF member? You get to propose items be placed on the agenda for discussion. You may pass on observations or share citizen concerns with the board. You're going to hear a lot of them in your role, so you'll be able to bring those back. Remember that you are appointed by City Council to make recommendations to City Council after listening to our residents. Points of interest. You need to do open meetings training. Would you like to clarify that?
Only for our newly appointed members, and we've already gone through that. But to clarify for everyone, each appointment in Texas is considered a separate appointment. So each time you're appointed, you have to do the oath, the statement of an elected or appointed official, and also the open meetings training.
It's 6, a quorum of 6 members is needed. I'm just go back and fill this in, and I forgot because I knew we lost one. And then, again, if you're going to be absent, there's Venus information. Goals. So here is the charge from City Council for this next phase of CIPTF. You're going to gather input from staff and the public as it relates to the needs for the May 2024 infrastructure bond election. You're going to prioritize these needs based on the established criteria, and you're going to make a prioritized recommendation to City Council in December of 2023. So here is the timeline that Council approved. In March of 2023, the CIPTF is formed. That's what they did at their council meeting in mid-March. Tonight is y'all's first kickoff meeting. In April, you will have department presentations. That will probably be Public Works, depending on whether you decide to meet on the first or third Monday. In May, you will also have department presentations. Following the May election, we will kick off public input. We have a process for that. We use our website. There's a form you fill out. People get to submit projects. You guys go to boards and commissions and do all that, encourage people to fill it out, and then you rank those projects as well. June, you will need to do a tour of all the projects. By then, you will have seen all of the requests from Public Works, Parks, Public Safety. Then you will do a tour of all the projects on a Saturday in June. And then you guys will go out and do presentations to the boards and commissions to get project recommendations. So we do the slideshow, we script it for you of all of what actually you're going to ask for, and then you go out to all the boards and commission meetings and ask for input for public projects. July, we'll begin the scoring of the projects. August, the subcommittee, typically y'all form subcommittees, how you do this. In August, those subcommittee rankings for the project is going to be due when the public input ends. September, you're going to get back together as a full team and do a full team ranking of the project. I call it cuss and discuss. You're going to have a list of projects, you're going to talk through the rankings, you're going to talk through, probably by May, we will kind of know how much we're going to have available. I suspect it is somewhere around $50 million, but I do not know that for sure. August, let's see, September, October, again, y'all are going to have those conversations because you may decide to go away and get some more information. November, you're going to start the preparation of that presentation to City Council, and in December, you will make a presentation to City Council. So, this is how this works. You guys will take a full list of projects, probably 50 projects, and you're going to narrow your recommendation down to somewhere about 10 or 12, 15 maybe, depending on the amount. You'll have a set dollar amount you have to stay within. You will then take to council all of the projects and your recommendations. Sometimes council overrides it and changes it based on information they have that you might not have. So the more input you get and the more people you get to talk to, so you make sure that you kind of know what the citizens want when you rank your projects. That's the best advice I can give you. I don't know that we've had a bond election that the CIPTF has walked up, made their presentation, and council said, okay, that's it. They tend to get shuffled based on priorities, right? And they may have different priorities. I think East Industrial is one, Jeff, that happened last time. So it might not have made CIPTF's recommended list, but it was a priority for City Council and it ended up on the list. And that happens from time to time. Then December, you guys will do your presentation to council. It will look a whole lot like it did this time. You give your presentation. January, council will have a work session where they talk through all of the projects, all the staff are here, ask a lot of questions, and then in February, they'll call a May 2024 election, very similar to the facility election you saw earlier. There are typically 3 propositions. One is streets, infrastructure, alleyways. One is typically quality of life, which is parks projects. And the third one is typically public safety. I don't know if public safety will have project recommendations this time. There are a few that they're thinking about, but I talked to the chief today and he's not sure that they're going to have one this time. So, any questions about that timeline?
A couple. First, I'm assuming it's already March that we have a ballpark list, the raw list of what's being proposed already.
The teams are working on those, yes.
Okay, so we'll get that in April.
You'll get one department presentation in April, and you will probably get Public Works in April, and you'll get Parks and Public Safety in May.
But probably by April we'll have the proposed list.
You won't
for
see the
everyone.
proposed list until they do a presentation
Okay.
to you, so you can see what their needs are.
The other thing, I know we put out on the website that for the public to suggest projects.
Yep.
Can we put a close on that? Because I remember the last time we did it, it stayed open up until,
Yeah, I mean, it'll probably close, like, if it opens late May, you could probably
July
close it at the
1st.
end of July, probably,
Or end of July,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right.
Well, if you remember, Eric, what we found last time, I took them all last time and kind of evaluated whether or not it was even an option. Because you get stuff that aren't an option, right? And so we'll do that again. We'll go through that list and so that you see all of them, but we kind of narrowed them down to some of them were already on the list and some of them we just couldn't do because they weren't our project to do.
Right.
And then we kind of help prioritize the rest of them.
Are you able to send out the last project report so that new members can see what we're working, like kind of what we're working towards, like a format layout kind of thing?
What we have, luckily, Brian G. was on the last CIPTF. He was a working member of that board. And he developed a spreadsheet, if you can imagine, that allows you to literally list the project. You guys have a scoring sheet that you will use, and they'll roll that out at the next meeting, and y'all will go through it in detail in April so that you can kind of see what those scores are and process it and make sure you don't have any questions. And then you'll score them, and there's very set criteria, and then it figures what's the highest ranking project. And it literally, his spreadsheet will literally put it in order for you. Now, you do with that what you want, right? One thing that CIPTF asked staff to do last time was to score our own projects. So our team will also score the projects because there's some things on the list that only a staff member would know, right? Is it a state mandate? Well, you probably aren't going to know if it's a state mandate or whatever. So
I would think that that would be listed, if you're gonna give me, tell me that you need to do X, Y, Z, find Y.
they are going to do some of that, but they don't have time. That list has about 20 items on it, but they will be providing that information as well.
Angie,
So.
you said, will we get a number?
You will have a number. We don't have a number today. I
Okay.
suspect it is about 50 million. I'll confirm with Wendy, but I bet it's the end of June before I have that exactly.
And that's part of the reason for the ranking, because
Yeah.
we may have our top priorities, but if it's gonna be $200 million and our budget's 50,
Yeah.
you know.
They're absolutely, you're gonna have $300 million worth of projects.
Also, Brian, the committee came away with a lot of recommendations to improve the process.
We have incorporated those in the process.
Okay. Do we need to look at those? Is the new committee to that, or?
I think so.
You
I mean,
aware
what
of
we
those?
kind of did is took all that information and kind of incorporated it into this new plan, like coming up with a timeline and doing
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I'll look back at it
I
and
know
see.
one of the things we struggled with was the projects themselves, having enough information around them. We got a lot of verbal input and some slideshows.
Yep.
But we really didn't have something we could sink our teeth in as far as a project.
And that will always be difficult because you literally are looking at the big chief tablet version, right? Because they can't go out and do any design or any real planning until they know whether or not they're gonna have that money, because all that costs money to do.
I understand
So-
that staff is closest to these projects.
Right.
We have to rely on them.
100%,
So
100%.
just
Yeah.
starting there,
Yep.
having good information
Yep.
from day one,
Yep,
will save us.
a lot of those things I think you will see might have been incorporated
Okay.
into this year's.
I gotta
plan.
revisit, I hadn't looked
Yeah,
at it in a
yeah.
while.
I think you'll see a lot of those things have been, and we actually, our internal team is meeting on Thursday because Laura and I were a big part of that, so I can make sure that they have checked those boxes for you.
Will we have a staff liaison? Or-
Bina.
I'm sorry, council.
Yes.
Mike Britton wasn't here tonight
Okay.
because he had already committed to Taste of Trade, which is also right now.
Okay, good.
So, as I recall, last time I served on this format of it, sometimes some of the things we're asked to evaluate, or the project is actually the design and engineering
Yeah.
for a project. So it's basically get that work out of the way, so.
It's really hard, right, because staff's gonna come to you and they're gonna ask for Herford Park, $4 million. Now, Herford Park is unique here that we have a site plan. But that site plan cost us 10% of the total project, right? So in phase one, that's one of the things we did. But a lot of the stuff they're gonna bring to you, they're not necessarily gonna have a site plan or a design, or it's gonna be staff sharing with you upcoming projects, like industrial, for instance. When we came in 2021 and asked to reconstruct industrial, we had a lot of information and a lot of prices, But we don't have what new industrial looks like, and we won't have that until the bonds are approved and sometimes a couple years down the road. So, but we have taken into consideration some of that feedback. So,
I can understand what you're saying, and I hope that when they come and ask for a project, if they need it done in order to be in compliance with a particular regulation or rule,
they're gonna share that.
yes, that's on that list.
Sure.
And, you know, again, I understand they may not have the drawings.
Yeah.
You know,
And they have the question list, and so most of them they will fill that out as well and provide it to you all so you have what those grading standards are. Just one view, right? If I'm the Parks and Rec director, what's the most important thing to me? Parks and Rec. If I'm the Public Works director, what's the most important thing to me? Public Works. If I'm fire chief, what am I going to rank the highest? My fire projects. So they absolutely are going to try to do that with an open mind, just like you do. But I think it will that was one of the requests from the last meeting, is it would help to know how staff rank these items. So staff will provide that.
I was gonna ask you that.
Yeah,
So
staff
they
will
will,
provide that.
okay. Good.
All right, next steps. So your outcome is a prioritized list of potential projects for an infrastructure bond election in May of 2024. If you get 50 projects, you're going to rank 50 projects. And council will see all 50 projects. But there will be a cutoff when you run out of money, knowing that last year, 2021, we had about $350 million worth of projects, and we had $40 million. We ended up spending about 32, something I can't remember exactly. But there are always more projects than there are money. It's just the reality of it. We have lists of top 25 streets and top 25 alleys, and concrete reconstruction and all those things. You'll hear presentations from departments. They're here. They're happy to answer questions. They are not here at every single meeting. So your department, each department will show up, do their presentation, and then from then on, Bina will help you filter through that. She can reach out to the departments as your liaison. She can ask them to come back if you need them to come back. They will definitely be a part of your tour, so they'll be wherever you go on your tour that involves their facilities. So a couple things you guys got to do. One, you got to decide which day you're going to meet. Two, then after you guys start meeting, you need to put together a date that works for everybody. Council typically goes on that tour as well. For a tour date in June, you'll discuss the ranking criteria at the next meeting. You'll start to put together your subcommittees. We typically do subcommittees for each of the propositions, which would be infrastructure, quality of life, and public safety. And then that is the CIPTF website, so that's where all your minutes and your agendas, and that's the public website. You go to rowlett.com and you go to boards of government and then boards and commissions. You can see the CIPTF. It has a list. It will have an update list of all the members, but all your meetings, all your stuff from all of time is there if you are interested in seeing it.
So the subcommittees on this committee versus the previous one do not include publicity, education,
They do not.
those.
Nope. All you're doing is prioritizing projects. That's it.
They will probably be more aligned with parks
Yeah, those three are what they're aligned with.
and public safety. If public safety brings nothing, then we'll probably further subdivide infrastructure into perhaps roads or other ones.
So this is you were doing a lot of education. This is a little more of an internal process and departments are going to present those projects to you.
And it's a foregone conclusion that the 50 million will be spent.
I do not know today.
So we could recommend less than that. I'm just being a taxpayer.
Could you? Yes, but we're going to give you $350 million of projects, and council is going to spend all of it.
That's what I'm saying, that's the answer. That's the answer.
Whatever that magic number is, I
Members
suspect,
keep
I can't promise that, but I suspect. Last year they did not, because at the last minute, they decided to pull the fire station construction and put that on a later where we could save that capacity at a later date. So they just did that, and they issued COs for that, but it saved the tax increase
But
capacity.
then they
So
came in with the end hour for the fire sirens or something.
Yeah,
Right at the
that
end, which took
yeah,
a
100%.
reshuffle.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so-
They absolutely have the based on priorities, right? You guys are gonna do your best to give them the best information there is based on a very set amount of criteria that Nina will provide to you at your next meeting and walk through it with you, and then council absolutely has the right to go in and shuffle, or, you know, there could be another priority that comes up that maybe you don't even know about between, in that time, so,
So-
if you haven't used that.
So one of the differences between this and the previous bout is we knew on this special bond election that there was gonna be taxes impacted.
Right,
The way they have the cyclical bonds is they know how much they can bond without affecting the tax rate or a tax increase. So that's where that number comes from, when they say, that's how much debt's being retired, and then we can encumber without a change to the rate.
I guess my only point is, if we didn't borrow that same amount, it would in fact decrease people's taxes.
not necessarily.
If you
This is
did-
expiring debt,
No, I understand.
so, not really. Council can still vote to reduce people's taxes. But this is debt that has expired, which allows us to have bonding ability for additional projects. Just because you say 50 and you only approve 40 doesn't mean people's taxes will go down. It's not, they don't really tie that way.
And when will we
Think
find out
debt
the
ceiling.
amount?
Yeah.
I'm
And when will we find out the amount of it?
Probably June. I just need to confirm with Wendy and make sure. There's also some cost involved in there for issuing the debt and those kind of things. We're gonna have, I may know as early as Thursday, y'all might know in April, but. So, and council absolutely could make the decision to take your list of 50 million and add 10 million and raise the taxes again to do that, so.
Well,
But y'all are operating, that's the decision for this board is, you are issued, you have $50 million, what are you gonna use it for? That's what they're looking for from this board.
and the other side of that as well too is, you know, council could shuffle or change our recommended list, but eventually it goes to the taxpayers.
Yep.
And
they
they
need to
may,
vote. So, any questions about this? So a couple things y'all need to do, Eric, you need to decide what night. At your next meeting, you will get your first presentation. You will go through the scoring criteria, just because you're gonna need to digest it a little bit, and then come back and ask questions at the next meeting, but you'll hear your first presentation. And then also elect a chair and vice chair at the next meeting.
And did you say you were gonna go ahead and, send this slideshow to us?
I can.
Via email?
Or her email, and then she can send just the timeline if you want, whichever.
The whole thing?
Yeah, let me update it before you do that.
well, we can bring that up too. So, let's talk about the meeting schedule first. We had our options of the first or third Monday. I already hear that we have a conflict for the first.
KRB, which on the board meets the first Monday of every month, so I would have a problem with that date.
Does anybody else have any conflicts on either?
Sometimes some holidays typically fall on the first Mondays, Labor Day.
That's true, too.
So maybe third, I think would be better.
Okay. Any objections to the third Monday? All right, so let's get a motion that we will meet on,
We just need consensus.
just consensus. Everybody good with that, third Monday?
This is the
All in
consensus.
favor?
Thumbs up?
Thank you.
The head's not.
That's
At
what we do at
5:30.
council. I need this, or?
Yeah. All right, and then there was another scheduling question, was there not? Or am I making stuff up in my
So
head?
if you wanted to look,
Just start
think about
thinking, yeah,
June.
yeah. Just start thinking
Oh.
about June. And when you would be available in June, not today, but think, look at your calendars,
And
that's
it's-
summer.
It's a Saturday, so
It
it's
is a Saturday, and you wanna do it sooner rather than later, so.
And this is all the facilities again? Like
No,
a
it'll be
tour?
the projects.
All
So
the
what
projects.
they'll do is they'll take you on,
Like
there's
an
no way to
alleys.
hit every project, but they might take you to a couple of the alleys, they might take you to a couple of parks, and they might, I haven't seen any lists, so I don't know what's on there, but that kind of stuff.
Should public input come in on a project that's not on that tour? How would we plug that tour or that evaluation into?
So what happens is they usually submit those on the website,
Yeah.
and they'll come in, and Angie said before, they'll kind of pre-screen them.
Last year, what happened is Tim created me a slideshow with pictures of all kinds of stuff, And so we came in with public input, and we actually presented the public input with pictures of what that looked like. Once you've seen one bad alley, you've seen all the bad alleys. They're all rough, so.
But we still do the street rankings, correct? The street
They
condition
do, yes,
rankings?
we have the PCIs, we'll have, all that stuff will be a part of your presentation. As much information as we can possibly give you, but, you know, if something, and again here, most of this isn't private, right? It's not a facility like the police station where you can't just go take a tour if you want. So sometimes, there's no way in a morning, we can hit every single thing on the list, because there's 50 of them. So we have to kind of pick and choose the big stuff, or what you guys want to see sometimes is how we do that. We've done that in the past.
She's using a lot of acronyms. So PCI is Pavement Condition Index, which is a scoring of the quality of the street. And, condition of the street. And so that's how Public Works ranks priorities along with other things.
And that list is published too, so you know that's on the website.
And all of those for streets and alleys were just updated this year.
In July. So we presented, just the other night, March 19th, we presented the top 25 streets, top 25 alleys. The team is breaking that out further into concrete and asphalt, and concrete and asphalt, and in priority order, because in that show they're not, but those are the top worst streets.
I was about to say your top 25 is your worst.
Is your worst, yeah.
Is that on our website? Website?
It's not yet, they are in the process of updating the PCI scores with all the new scores, they have not done it yet.
But the
A lot
last
goes
one
into-
should be out there,
Yeah,
the last
it is,
PCI index.
yeah. And that's my fault, they sent it to me and I just haven't reviewed it yet.
So let's look at June schedules, not tonight, but let's try to hone in on a date by our next meeting. So that means if we're doing the third Monday, that's gonna put us at, for our next meeting,
17th, April 17th.
May.
June.
May.
April 17th is the next meeting. Yeah,
Tax day.
y'all are just gonna, June's hard,
April
but
17th.
You should pay your taxes early.
If you can send out a list like you did last time, email addresses and all that, because I don't know who the members are.
Yeah,
Yes. We have to wait for the the last new member, who
Oh,
I don't
okay.
have approval from, so she'll continue to be blind copy. But when I have approval from everybody, we'll send an updated member list.
Okay, so my approval from last time is good this time?
Yes, because it's
Okay.
not a new appointment, you just continued.
this one's a little different. Remember, this is a specially appointed board, right? So you're appointed for a specific task. And when we went to council in March, we talked about how do we use this board best. Well, we have another election next May, so it was back to the drawing board. Hopefully you all agreed to do that. I think so. I think Laura sent an email.
yeah. So we're gonna have to go through a reorg on the next meeting as well?
What do you mean?
Do we need to elect a chair and a vice chair? And
Probably yes. New challenge, new members, probably a good idea.
So it's something to think about for the next meeting as well, if you're interested in chair or vice chair, and you'd like to do it. If nobody else wants it, I'll continue, but if somebody else wants to do it, you may have it as well. So,
The great news is you have a lot of history here. Mike has done this, Jeff has done this. How many times, Jeff? 5, 4, 15, 18, 21. Eric has done it 3 times as well. So you guys have a lot of history here that you can tell us. That's it.
anything else? Any other new business comments? All right, none being said. Adjourn. It's 6:34.